In today's lesson, we are looking at quadratic inequalities. Now, before we look at examples, I just want to remind you of a couple of things. Now, this is a quadratic expression, and a quadratic expression is always in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, for quadratic inequalities, we always want to make sure that this coefficient in front of the x squared is a positive value. Okay, so that means when the a is greater than 0, and we want to keep that a greater than 0. I'll say it again, we want to keep this coefficient a positive value, because then for quadratic inequalities we're always going to draw the parabola like this in a positive orientation, so the legs are pointing up. So always remember this. Now let's look at quadratic inequalities. Now here I have an equation. I have a parabola, a quadratic expression that is equal to 0. And remember, when we work out x, what does that mean? We worked out these x-intercepts where the parabola touches the x-axis. Okay, now what is a quadratic inequality? Now here's an example. X squared minus 3x minus 18 is less than 0. So if we want to read this, we can simply say, where is the parabola below the x-axis? So it will be over here. There we go. Understand? Great. Now let's look at another one. X squared minus 3x minus 18 is greater than 0. That means, where is the parabola above the x-axis? And it's above the x-axis over here as well as over here. Okay, awesome. And then let's look at another example. X squared minus 3x minus 18 is less and equal to 0. So that basically means, where is the parabola below and equal to 0? So if we want to read it, where is it below the x-axis and where does it touch the x-axis? So it touches the x-axis there all the way around to that value where it touches there. So it includes these two values as well. Now let's look at one last example. Here we have x squared minus 3x minus 18 is greater and equal to 0. This means, where is the parabola above and where does it touch the x-axis? So it touches the x-axis there, so it includes this value and it goes up that way. So all the way to the left, and it includes this value here, and it goes up and all the way to the right. And we are just interested in how far does it go to the right, or how far does it go to the left, or if we look at between the values, how far does it go left or right. We are not interested in the up and down movements. Got it? Now let's go and have a look at an example. Now here is the same example as before. And we have x squared minus 3x minus 18 is less than 0. So what does this mean? It means, where is the parabola, because this is a quadratic expression, below the x-axis. So we can already draw it, because this a is already a positive value. It's a positive 1, even though we can't see it. So we can draw the parabola with its legs pointing up, and we put the x-axis in. And then we treat this as if it is an equation. So what do we do with the quadratic expression? We always move all our terms to one side, and lucky for us, everything is on the left, and then we factorize. So we have x minus 6 and x plus 3 is less than 0. Now we want to find our x-intercepts, or our critical points. So what must this x be for this bracket to be 0? So x must be a 6. So we put in the 6 here on the right side, because that's the bigger value of the two. You will see. So x plus 3, what makes this bracket 0? Well, if x is a minus 3, so we put the minus 3 in. Okay, so now we just simply go and check, where is the parabola below the x-axis? From this point to this point. As you can see, it runs between the -3 and the 6. And like I said, we don't care about how low it goes. We just want to know from which value to which value is the parabola below the x-axis. So we can simply say that x lies between these two values. Okay, it's all the values from -3 to -6 will give us a parabola that is below the x-axis. So we can write it as x must be greater than -3 and less than 6. And there we go. So let's go look at a last example. Now here we have minus x squared minus 7x is less and equal to minus 18. Now this is a quadratic expression, so what do we need to do first? We need to move all our terms to one side. And then we have minus x squared minus 7x plus 18 is less than equal to 0. But now this a value in front of the x squared, this coefficient, is a negative one. We do not want this to be negative. Now, since this is an inequality, we can simply divide or multiply with a -1 all the way through. And then it becomes a x squared. The minus 7x becomes a plus 7x. The plus 18 becomes a minus 18. And remember, because we are dividing with a minus all the way through, this sign is going to switch around. So it becomes a greater and equal sign than 0. Okay, and there we have our inequality in the right form where a is positive. So now I can simply go and draw my parabola with its legs pointing up and with the x-axis in. And then we are going to factorize this expression, and we get x plus 9 in brackets and x minus 2 in brackets, which is greater and equal to 0. We treat this as a zero product rule. So what makes this bracket a 0 if x is a minus 9? Very good. And what makes this bracket a 0 when x is a 2? So minus 9 goes on the left and the 2 goes on the right because they are the values for the x-intercepts. And now we want to know, where is the parabola above and equal to the x-axis? So it touches this minus 9 here, okay? So it's going to include this minus 9. And as you can see, it's above, and as my arrow follows this parabola's line, it keeps going to the left, right? So it's all the values to the left of minus 9, and this one goes up and to the right, and it's all my values to the right of this too. Now, how do we write that? Well, if it's all the values to the left of minus 9, it means x must be smaller than minus 9. And it's also going to include the minus 9 because we want to know where does it also touch. So x is less and equal to minus 9, and x is greater and equal to 2, because greater to the right of 2 means the values are bigger than 2, right? Okay, as you can see, the parabola goes up and to the right. So from 2 all the way to the right, this parabola will be above the x-axis. And there is our answer. I hope you could follow, and see you again soon. Bye.